Hi, I'm Christian. Welcome back to another On the Road video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Today we're working on a Whirlpool top-load washing machine. The customer's complaint is that it quits mid-cycle. It usually quits either in the rinse or the spin. So the customer's saying if they push in the timer dial and then manually turn the timer and turn it back on, it'll continue to run the cycle with no issue. So we've already diagnosed that the issue is inside the actual timer. The contacts are probably burned, which is creating a dead spot. Stop. Before beginning any repair, always be sure to disconnect the power to the appliance. It is also recommended to test the outlet for proper voltage. Remember to also turn off the water. The tools you will need to complete this repair are a 5/16 inch nut driver, a 1/4 inch nut driver, and a number 2 Phillips screwdriver. To begin the repair, we want to make sure that the timer knob is pushed in all the way. So we're just going to pull it out and push it in to make sure it is pushed in. And then we're going to turn the knob here counterclockwise. It's a screw-on knob, so we're just going to continue to turn it until it's loose enough to pull directly off, just like this. Once we have it off, we'll set it aside. The next thing to remove is the actual dial itself. So we're just going to pull directly up on the dial, just like this, and set this aside as well. The next step to do is to remove both 5/16 inch screws that actually secure the actual timer assembly onto the control panel. So we're just going to remove both screws. Once the last screw is removed, the timer may drop down, which is fine. So once the 2 screws that secure the timer into place have been removed, the next 2 screws we're going to remove is 2 screws that actually secure the control panel in place. They are both located in each corner, so one's in the right-hand corner, the other one's in the left-hand corner, and these screws are both number 2 Phillips screws. So I'm just going to start on the left-hand side, and we'll go to the right. Set the screws aside. Now we can take a hold of the actual control panel assembly, and then we're gonna pull it towards us and then lift up. We can now push the timer through, and then we'll let this actual control panel assembly rest here just like this. The next step is to take a hold of the timer, and all the wires on this timer are built into a molex connector. So the molex connector has 2 clips on each side that we're going to depress in and then pull out. This has been setting for a while, so it may be a little difficult. We'll flip it around. On one side of the molex connector is a small piece of sponge-like material which acts as a lock. Remove it and then remove the connector. Now that we have our new timer assembly, let's install it. The first step to do is to plug in the molex connector. It can only fit on one way. So we'll line it up and then push it directly on, just like that. Now on the old timer, it did have this little sponge here on one of the ends. I'm just gonna stick it back in that same end to help keep that molex in place. Included with the new timer is 1 1/4 inch machine thread screw. This is used to pre-thread the bolt holes in the new timer. There's one, and here's the other one. Alrighty. Once we've completed threading the new screw holes, we'll go ahead and line up the actual timer assembly onto the control panel while rolling the control panel towards us. We'll line up the timer screw holes and the nipple into the correct openings. Once they're lined up, we can go ahead and re-secure the timer with the 2 5/16 inch screws we removed earlier. There's one, and here's the second one. Once the 2 screws have secured the timer in place, we can now re-secure or reset the actual control panel in place. There are a couple of teeth down at the bottom that are going to be inserted into a few slots. So we're going to line up those teeth and then push it back. Once it's in place, we can use the 2 number 2 Phillips screws we removed earlier to secure the control panel onto the chassis. The next step is to install the actual timer dial. It's key to fit only one way. So we're gonna spin it until it wants to push down all the way smoothly without breaking anything. So once that's in place, we can now install the actual timer knob as our last step. So we're gonna line it up and then screw it on clockwise. And once it's on there all the way, we will not be able to spin the knob. So now we can plug in the washer and run the unit through a test cycle to make sure everything else works. And that will complete your repair. Thank you for watching another quality in-home repair video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.